G.K. Chesterton, the colossal man of letters, wit, and paradox, once declared, "The madman is not the man who has lost his reason. The madman is the man who has lost everything except his reason." A startling thought, isn't it? What could this master of profound common sense possibly mean? He was pointing to a crucial, often overlooked truth, that a life lived solely by the dictates of a narrow, isolated logic, a life that dismisses the unseen, the mysterious, the profoundly spiritual, can become a very unbalanced, even a dangerously distorted place. Today, we're diving deep into Chesterton's remarkable insights on forces he took with utmost seriousness, what he understood as demons, the corrosive and gnawing nature of modern doubt, and the often unseen yet utterly crucial silent battle that rages within every human soul. Chesterton, who famously journeyed from a youthful agnosticism to a robust Christian faith, chronicled in his spiritual autobiography Orthodoxy, didn't speak of demons in the simplistic, cartoonish way of pitchforks and fiery pits, though he certainly believed in the reality of personal, malevolent spiritual entities. More often, and perhaps more chillingly for our modern sensibilities, he identified demons as insidious and destructive ideas, as powerful, corrupting philosophies, and as spiritual tendencies that actively seek to dismantle human dignity, joy, and hope. These were the intellectual fashions of his day, and indeed of ours, that promised liberation, but delivered, in his view, only chains. He saw, for instance, a demonic quality in the creeping materialism that reduces human beings to mere collections of atoms, devoid of free will, spiritual significance, or any destiny beyond the dust. If we are nothing but complex machines, he argued, then concepts like love, justice, courage, and sacrifice become elaborate illusions, mere chemical reactions. This, for Chesterton, was a soul-destroying lie, a demon that whispers of meaninglessness. He also confronted the demon of a narrow, pessimistic determinism, the idea that we are all puppets of fate or environment with no real agency. This, he felt, cut the nerve of all moral effort and true heroism. His understanding of demons was often tied to his concept of heresy. A heresy for Chesterton wasn't usually a complete falsehood, but rather a truth taken out of its proper context, isolated, and then exaggerated to the point where it becomes a monstrous distortion. He once said, "A heresy is a truth that has gone mad." Think of it, the truth of reason, when isolated from faith, wonder, and humility, can become the cold, sterile reason of the madman he described. The truth of freedom, if detached from responsibility and love, can degenerate into license and anarchy. These mad truths, these intellectual demons, were what Chesterton dedicated much of his life to combating with his wit, his logic, and his profound sense of the sacredness of the ordinary. Now, intertwined with this awareness of destructive ideas is the very real experience of doubt. Chesterton was no stranger to doubt. His early years were marked by a profound searching and skepticism. But he made a crucial distinction. There is a healthy, honest questioning that seeks truth, that probes and tests. But then there is a corrosive, paralyzing doubt, a doubt that becomes a dogma in itself, the doubt that doubts everything, including the validity of doubt itself. This, he saw, could be a tool of those same demonic forces, aiming to incapacitate the soul, to prevent it from ever committing to anything true, good, or beautiful. He famously wrote, "The object of opening the mind, as of opening the mouth, is to shut it again on something solid." For Chesterton, faith wasn't about suppressing doubt or achieving an impossible intellectual certainty on all matters. Rather, it was about finding that something solid, a coherent and life-giving vision of reality, and making a commitment to it, even amidst the lingering shadows of uncertainty. He pointed out the inherent contradiction in the absolute skeptic. "It is idle to talk always of the alternative of reason and faith," he wrote. "Reason is itself a matter of faith.
It is an act of faith to assert that our thoughts have any relation to reality at all. He argued that the modern world had, in many ways, elevated doubt to a virtue while viewing conviction as a kind of intellectual immaturity. But Chesterton saw robust conviction rooted in a comprehensive truth as the very foundation of sanity and action. He observed that those who claimed to believe in nothing often ended up believing in anything, especially if it was fashionable or sufficiently pessimistic. He saw this as the mind unmoored, susceptible to every passing intellectual current, unable to find a firm anchor. This brings us to the silent battle of the soul. For Chesterton, this wasn't some grand, melodramatic clash reserved for saints or epic heroes. It was and is the daily, often mundane, yet profoundly significant struggle waged within the heart and mind of every single human being. It's the constant choice between selfishness and generosity, between pride and humility, between despair and hope, between cynicism and wonder. It's the battle against what Christian tradition calls the deadly sins, but also crucially the battle for the virtues, for courage, for kindness, for gratitude, for joy. Chesterton believed that the Christian narrative, the true myth, as Tolkien would later articulate in conversations with C.S. Lewis, a close friend of Chesterton's ideas, if not the man himself whom he never met, provided not only the most accurate map of this internal battlefield, but also the spiritual weapons needed to fight effectively. He saw that acknowledging the reality of this struggle and the existence of forces, both internal and external, that seek our spiritual detriment was not a cause for despair, but the first step towards true spiritual athleticism.
He championed what he called the romance of orthodoxy. He found that the traditional doctrines of Christianity, often dismissed by modern thinkers as restrictive or outdated, were in fact incredibly liberating and psychologically astute. They offered a framework that made sense of the paradoxes of human existence, our capacity for incredible goodness and appalling evil, our longing for transcendence and our entanglement in the material, our moments of profound clarity and our seasons of deep confusion. These doctrines, he argued, were like the sturdy walls of a playground, allowing for the maximum freedom and joy within a safe and defined space, rather than the terrifying, boundless freedom of an abyss. The silent battle is fought in the choices we make every hour, the choice to forgive an offense or nurse a grudge, the choice to speak a word of encouragement or indulge in gossip, the choice to confront an injustice or to remain comfortably silent, the choice to cultivate gratitude for small blessings or to fixate on what we lack. Chesterton, with his characteristic optimism, an optimism hard-won through struggle, not a naive Pollyannaism, believed that even the smallest victories in this silent battle had cosmic significance. He understood that the human soul is a territory contested by forces of light and darkness, and that our daily decisions tip the balance, however minutely. So, how do Chesterton's century-old insights about demons, doubt, and the soul's silent battle resonate with us today in our hyper-connected, often bewildering 21st century world? The truth is, they are startlingly relevant. Consider the demons, those destructive ideas that permeate our culture. Maybe you feel the immense pressure of ideologies that tell you your worth is tied to your productivity, your appearance, or your online influence. Perhaps you encounter the subtle but pervasive nihilism that whispers that nothing truly matters in the grand scheme of things, so why bother striving for anything noble? This is the modern equivalent of Chesterton's intellectual demons, seeking to diminish your spirit and rob you of authentic joy. There's the demon of constant comparison, fueled by social media, leading to envy and dissatisfaction. There's the demon of ideological purity that brooks no dissent and thrives on outrage, fracturing communities and relationships. Chesterton would urge us to identify these mad truths, these ideas that sound plausible or even smart, but ultimately lead to spiritual desolation. He'd encourage us to question the unquestioned assumptions of our age.
And what about doubt? Perhaps you're grappling with profound questions about your faith, if you have one, or even about whether life itself holds any inherent meaning or purpose. You might feel lost in a sea of conflicting information, where experts disagree and certitude seems like a relic of a simpler time. Chesterton would understand. He would say that engaging with doubt honestly is part of the human condition, but he would also gently challenge you. What are you choosing to build your life upon amidst that doubt? Are you allowing doubt to become a paralyzing force, preventing you from making any commitments, from taking any stands? Or are you, like him, searching for that something solid, that core set of beliefs and values that can provide an anchor even when the waters are turbulent? He would remind us that even the most ardent skeptic operates on a set of foundational faiths, faith in their own reason, faith in the reliability of their senses, faith in the possibility of communication. The question isn't whether to have faith, but in what or in whom to place it. Maybe you feel the weight of this silent battle of the soul every single day. Perhaps it's the struggle to get out of bed when depression looms, the fight to choose patience when your children are testing every limit, the effort to maintain integrity when cutting corners offers an easier path. Maybe it's the internal war against addiction, against ingrained prejudice, against the cynical voice that tells you hope is for fools. Chesterton's message is one of profound solidarity. You are not alone in this. This struggle is the human drama. He would encourage us to see these daily choices not as insignificant trifles, but as crucial skirmishes in a larger campaign. Every act of kindness, however small, is a blow against the darkness. Every moment of genuine gratitude chips away at the foundations of despair. Every time we choose courage over fear, or truth over comfortable deception, we strengthen not only our own soul, but also contribute to the sum of goodness in the world. Perhaps you feel this battle intensely, a hidden struggle no one else fully sees or appreciates. Chesterton's vision affirms the dignity and importance of that unseen fight. He reminds us that true heroism is often found not in grand public gestures, but in the quiet, persistent effort to choose the good, day in and day out, in the ordinary circumstances of our lives. He would also point to the power of joy as a weapon, not a frivolous, superficial happiness, but a deep, resilient joy rooted in the goodness of creation and the hope of redemption. Cultivating wonder, practicing gratitude, seeking out beauty, these for Chesterton were not luxuries, but essential acts of spiritual resistance.
If you find yourself overwhelmed by the negativity and cynicism that can feel so pervasive, Chesterton's robust, joyful faith offers a powerful antidote. He didn't ignore the darkness, far from it. He stared it squarely in the face, but he refused to let it have the last word. He believed that light is ultimately stronger than darkness, that love is more powerful than hate, and that hope is more rational than despair.